There's a poll out there today that talks about the greatest presidents of the United States, and this is what most Americans think. It's Ronald Reagan. Then it's John F. Kennedy, and then Abraham Lincoln. They received the most in mention. And then Bill Clinton, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, George Washington was slightly behind. So are you surprised by that it was going to the great communicator?
It's a little surprising, but, you know, we just celebrated his centennial birthday 2 weeks ago, so I'm not surprised that people have Reagan top of mind. Abe Lincoln usually comes out first on those polls, so I'm a little bit surprised Reagan's on top. But I think it reminds us that we look back 20 years ago on Reagan and say he was simple but straightforward, a great communicator. He had a few things he wanted to accomplish, and he did them. And so I think there's a little bit of a revisionist history with Reagan.
Do you think President Obama is taking a page from Reagan's book as he looks at his presidency now? Absolutely.
And Reagan and Obama have a few things in common. One is they had a very cheery, sunny countenance. They were very forward-looking people. I think people like that about Reagan. They like that about Obama. They're great communicators. They know how to paint a really vivid portrait with their words. And I think Obama is tacking to the center now and becoming a little bit more to the middle. And his State of the Union sounded very Reagan-esque.
When you were talking about 15 decisions that, changed the nation, you boiled it down to 15 in that book, but I would think that every presidential decision is a pretty big one.
They are, and in the post log I talk about some of the decisions that didn't make it, but I try to find decisions that were big and transformative to the country.
For instance?
Like Truman dropping the bomb or Truman firing MacArthur, Lyndon Johnson and civil rights. It was fascinating. Johnson came from the South, the deep South, and he was a segregation at first, but over time he evolved and he passed the landmark civil rights bill. So I was looking for decisions that really challenged the individual.
I know you don't necessarily rate presidents, but if you were to rate presidents, your top 5, how would you do it?
I'd probably say, in a previous book I did do this, Lincoln first. I think keeping the Union together obviously was a momentous decision. I think Washington second, the father of our country. A lot of the precedents for the presidency
Lincoln
he
before
created.
Washington, interesting.
Lincoln before Washington.
Yep.
Third, I'd say Franklin Roosevelt. He fought a two-front war in Asia and Europe, as well as the economy, and Lend-Lease, accomplished a lot of big things. And then fourth, I would say, and I might be a little bit out there on this one, Teddy Roosevelt, the Panama Canal. I have that in my book, a big decision. It created a two-ocean power. And then fifth, Harry Truman.
Wow.
I think he was underrated at the time, but we're looking back and saying he was a great president.
As we're rating presidents, let's rate the current president, President Obama. Where do you see him?
I see right now, I give him a BB+. I think on substance, he's been pretty solid. Whether or not you agree with health care reform, he's done a TARP, which saved our economy, the auto bailouts, and even financial regulatory reform. I would say right now, he's in the category of like the 15 to 20s. He has a chance to move up into the near greats, like a Woodrow Wilson or a Reagan or an Andrew Jackson, if he gets a few more things done and if he wins a second term. That one's key for him.
Nick Ragone, thank you so much. Of course, Nick Ragone's book, Presidential Leadership, 15 Decisions That Changed the Nation, is in bookstores, and he'll be back in the next hour with more insight on this President's Day. And